This is major emergency breaking news. We just had another massive explosion inside of the US, and this time it hit our US critical gas infrastructure. All right, pipelines are now being shut down, going to the south and going to Texas. We now have gas pipelines being shut down from this explosion, and at the same time, we also have major warnings of attacks on our critical infrastructure from the FBI and also from CISA, the head of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They are both now warning just today on Wednesday of major attacks on our U.S. critical infrastructure is coming soon. All right. This comes as we just had another explosion today. Two major explosions in a row. We had another one yesterday in Texas, and now we have another one in Oklahoma affecting the infrastructure going to Texas. All right, something is going on. This is not a coincidence, and we need to get prepared. All right, we need to be getting ready. We also have a major warning coming from the Speaker of the House as well. So we have three massive warnings, and it's happening. All right, big things are happening, and we could see these attacks on our critical infrastructure escalate. That's exactly what the head of the FBI and the head of CISA just warned today in testimony to Congress. All right, we also have big economy news. There are mass layoffs going on. All right, a lot of major companies are laying off thousands of people. All right, and we also have an update on what's going on in East Palestine, Ohio. Okay, major update on that. We will get to that later. And also a little bit of the border news. All right, things going on with our border, our open border right now. All right, so let's dive into this news here of this major attack that just took place on our U.S. critical infrastructure, and then we will get to these warnings from top FBI and top CISA officials, and also the Speaker of the House also gave a major warning as well. All right, and this stuff's happening right now, and these warnings are related potentially to this massive explosion that we just had in our country. All right, so I reported on yesterday in Texas. Now we just had another one on the border of Texas and Oklahoma, and this time it's a natural gas pipeline, and it has been shut down. Right, a major pipeline flowing into Texas for natural gas from Oklahoma has been taken offline due to this explosion. Right, and this was a massive fireball of an explosion. It was seen. People were saying up to 500 feet in the air, this gas that was burning off, and the only way to stop it is to shut down this pipeline system from Oklahoma going into Texas. All right, so this just happened last night and today, this pipeline explosion, and this is on top of the other explosion we just had in Texas yesterday, right? Something is going on. This could affect liquid natural gas prices, and you could see shortages in Texas and in the South. All right, we also just had the Biden administration put a clamp down on exports of liquid natural gas. All right, they're stopping certain exports out of the South, out of Texas and Louisiana, from exporting liquid natural gas overseas, all right, because the U.S. is actually the biggest exporter of this worldwide. All right, so big hits to our critical infrastructure are happening right now, and you can see here some details of this fire that happened. All right, I'm going to show this map here so you can see the map of this pipeline network that was just taken offline, and this is what the head of the FBI was just warning of: major attacks on our critical infrastructure and our U.S. pipelines. All right, we will get to that in just a second, but you can see here this pipeline that was just affected. The one is going through Oklahoma and down into Texas. It looks like it's called the Southern Hills one. It's the orange pipeline that starts actually in the bottom of Kansas and it goes through Oklahoma and into Texas and goes all the way to the ports in Texas to the market hub there. You can see on this map, right? So that's the one that is now shut down and offline, the Southern Hills pipeline system going through Texas carrying liquid natural gas. All right, so we could see shortages, we could see price changes and fluctuations there in Texas, especially. They keep getting hit day after day. All right, you can see here that this was a pipeline. It was operated by DCP Midstream. All right, this just happened Tuesday night, and local officials say that the pipeline had to be shut down to deal with the fire. And there was reporting that this pipeline and this company, DCP Midstream, is actually owned by Phillips 66, the gas company. And DCP is actually a Denver-based company, Fortune 500 natural gas producer and transporter who owns the pipeline, right? So this is a big company. This is a major natural gas pipeline that brings resources into Texas, right? And all these different pipelines are connected. And now this major one going through Oklahoma. So you can bet that the middle of Oklahoma is going to be hit with natural gas shortages, especially. Texas might be able to recover because they have other pipelines coming in from other areas, but this specific area of Oklahoma might have shortages of natural gas in the short term until this pipeline can be fixed. All right, and this is on top of the major attacks that we saw yesterday and explosions in Texas yesterday, right? Something is going on in our country, and it's being allowed to happen. Let's get into these warnings that are being issued by the Speaker of the House, the head of the FBI, and the head of CISA, right? This is what the Speaker of the House said, and it's related to this, all right? He's saying that the border is a national security issue, right? He said, quote, "The situation at the southern border presents a clear and present danger to our national security," right? That is what Speaker Johnson just issued a statement on, saying that on Wednesday. Okay, he also said that what he was citing that there's 1.5 million, quote, gotaways who evaded detection in the last 3 years, right, when they entered the U.S. That's at least, and how do they know how many got away if they got away? All right, that number, they don't actually know. That's just an estimate of 1.5 million. It's probably a lot more. All right, it's probably a lot more. And he's saying this is a national security threat. And now we have attacks on our pipelines. Okay, listen to also what the head of the FBI was also warning of, and the head of CISA. And really quick, I want you to just listen to what he said, hear what he said from testimony to Congress today, Wednesday, January 31st. This was the warning that the head of the FBI just issued, all right?
China's multi-pronged assault on our national and economic security make it the defining threat of our generation. There has been far too little public focus on the fact that PRC hackers are targeting our critical infrastructure, our water treatment plants, our electrical grid, our oil and natural gas pipelines, our transportation systems, and the risk that poses to every American requires our attention now. China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities if and when China decides the time has come to strike. To quantify what we're up against, the PRC has a bigger hacking program than that of every major nation combined. In fact, if you took every single one of the FBI's cyber agents and intelligence analysts and focused them exclusively on the China threat, China's hackers would still outnumber FBI cyber personnel by at least 50 to 1. I do not want those watching today to think we can't protect ourselves. But I do want the American people to know that we cannot afford to sleep on this danger.
All right, so you can see here, this is the article coming out of Wall Street Journal. It says, Chinese hacking against U.S. infrastructure threatens American lives, officials say. All right, so we're getting two major warnings coming out of this article, and they're saying that the U.S. could be disrupted by these major attacks on our pipelines, on our grid, on our water systems. All right, that's exactly what they're warning of. And then what do you know? Same day, this pipeline explodes, a major natural gas pipeline going into Texas, of all places, as well. And natural gas is also critical for the grid. It's around 30 to 40% of grid generation capacity comes from natural gas generators. So this is a quote from the head of the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, Jen Easterly, right? She said, quote, "This is a world where a major crisis halfway across the planet could well endanger the lives of Americans here at home through the disruption of our pipelines, the severing of our telecommunications, the pollution of our water, right? Of our water facilities, the crippling of our transportation modes, all to ensure they can incite societal panic and chaos and to deter our ability to marshal military might and civilian will." All right, that's exactly what the head of CISA just testified to Congress today, saying, quote, "Disruptions to our pipelines, severing of telecommunications, pollution of our water facilities, all these things are already happening right now. There's been cyber attacks to our water treatment plants all over the country. Dozens of them in the past month or two have been getting hit. All right, this is happening all over the place. Pipelines are exploding. All right, critical infrastructure is being taken offline. The grid is being targeted with these attacks the past few years. Physical attacks as well. People physically attacking the grid with weapons. This has happened the past year or two. I've been reporting on this. All right, these things are happening, and they're warning us that a big one is coming. All right, a big attack is coming, and that's also what the head of the FBI is also warning of as well. All right, he is saying, quote, "China's hackers are positioning on American infrastructure in preparation to wreak havoc and cause real-world harm to American citizens and communities if or when China decides the time has come to strike," Ray said. All right, so that's what the head of the FBI also just warned of as well, saying that they are going to, quote, "wreak havoc on America's infrastructure." Okay, and something that also just happened that was just disclosed in this Wednesday hearing to Congress is that there was actually a major cyber attack on hundreds, potentially thousands of routers, okay, that were compromised, that were out of date. They were no longer being updated or getting software code updates through the developer, all right? And these different routers, that's the thing that puts out your Wi-Fi signal, okay? They were compromised, and they were being used to target certain critical infrastructure. They were literally taking over people's routers and using them to target infrastructure, right? And using your own internet. This was just disclosed as well, and also disclosed, which is crazy as well, is that the FBI actually went into these private routers and took them over and actually neutralized these bad actors. They were saying that it was such a urgent threat that they had to go in, and they didn't even notify anyone. They didn't notify the people of their routers. They're saying this just happened in December. This happened last month, and they didn't notify anyone. So imagine your Wi-Fi router. It's compromised potentially by a foreign government, all right? Bad actor. And then the FBI comes in and takes over your router, and they said they were injecting code into it to make sure that it can't be compromised anymore by foreign actors. All right, you can't make this stuff up. We're living in this sci-fi world where everything's at risk. Everything you have hooked up to the internet is at risk, and it needs to be taken offline. All right, needs to be taken offline, our critical infrastructure. And if a major attack like this happens, say something breaks out overseas in the Middle East. We're already seeing escalations right now. There's a major cyber attack on U.S. critical infrastructure. There's going to be societal chaos and panic. They're even saying that. They're warning that they are trying to cause chaos, right? Because they know once the grid goes down in a major U.S. city, right? Once the lights go out, the water goes out, the internet goes out, and it's for a prolonged period of time, a week, 2 weeks, a month. A lot of these big cities and populated areas are going to become very chaotic, right? People are going to be looting, stealing goods, and eventually moving out into the suburbs as well, right? And our open border policy is not helping this as well. We do not know who's coming into our country. We do not know who is potentially helping facilitate these attacks and who could take advantage of a massive cyber attack. They could then activate these groups, these foreign militants that are in our country. They could then be activated to do something inside of our country as well once the lights are out. And the U.S. military is concerned as well because they use the same infrastructure. It's not like they have their own power plant or something like that. They use the same power plant that we use, right? They use the same water systems. Maybe they have their own wells, but a lot of these things are connected. They're using the same critical infrastructure that we are using, right? And it could be targeted in one of these big events, all right? Especially if something in Taiwan pops off, all right? And they're saying that this operation has been dubbed Volt Typhoon, okay? And they're saying that they want to target communications, manufacturing, transportation, maritime, and other critical sectors, all right? And they're saying specifically this Operation Volt Typhoon is if something pops off with China and Taiwan, right? Potentially China would do a preemptive attack so we cannot respond, and especially cut off communications to Asia and Japan and South Korea, sever these communications so it's hard to respond, right? That's part of the battle plan as well. That is being talked about by the FBI and also part of CISA and even the military. All right, so something to be aware of, something to be prepared for. All right, you need to have a generator. You need to have your gas tanks filled up, your water tanks. You need to be growing your own food, right? If you have a propane tank, fill it up, right? If you have a big one for your house, fill it up. You can get a generator that's converted to hook up to these tanks. So you can just have a generator running off natural gas, right? But even these natural gas pipelines are now being targeted as well, all right? They're saying that the water could be targeted, all right? So make sure you have water filters, okay? We have a little pond in the back of our property that if it ever hit the fan, it's kind of nasty, but if it hits the fan, we could use our Life Straw. We could use our Sawyer mini filter as well that you can just drink right out of it. All right, we have both, multiple ones, just in case we ever need them. All right, and we've used them camping and hiking multiple times, and they work. All right, so it's important to have these things. It's important to be prepared and be ready because we could see a big event pop off. And they're saying that they're worried about our water being targeted. Well, our water is already being targeted right now, right? If you remember East Palestine, Ohio, it has been a full year since this disaster happened. It's somehow been a year. I don't know how it's been a year, but the entire Ohio River water basin was poisoned with these toxic forever chemicals and these toxic VOCs, these volatile organic compounds that flooded the waterways and the rivers. And they're saying that it's showing up in the grass and the soil, and it's showing up deep in the soil. And they're saying it's going to be reaching into the water table and into the aquifer for decades potentially, right? And it's already been a year. And this was potentially an attack on our U.S. critical infrastructure, these derailments, all the stuff. There were multiple people actually prosecuted in the past year that were trying to sabotage these train tracks. Okay. And we actually have Biden. He's now going to East Palestine right now. That's why I'm bringing it up, because it's been a year, and Biden is now finally going for the first time. He's never been. Now he's finally going, and he probably didn't go because it's so toxic. It's so toxic there. I'm not saying that's a good excuse, but that's probably the reason they're saying you need to wait a year to go there, because nobody should be there. It's extremely toxic. People's yards are still just this toxic goo, right? And people's homes have been completely devalued, and their property values have been destroyed from this disaster, right? And there's been no recourse, and there's been no relief or money. We're giving away billions, hundreds of billions of people, hundreds of billions of dollars to people that are not United States citizens, but then people that are U.S. citizens living in Ohio have their homes destroyed, their lives ruined. They have to just stay in these toxic homes, and they don't get any justice, any relief, or any help. And it takes a whole year for Biden to show up there. All right, so we're worried about these major cyber attacks, which are real, okay, because there was one that actually happened in Florida a few years ago where they added extreme amounts of lie, right? They added lie, which can blind you, burn your skin. They added extreme amounts of that to the water supply through a cyber attack, okay? This happened in Florida a few years ago. So these are real threats as well, but also our water, everything, our skies, our farmland, all these things are being poisoned constantly as well. Constantly. And the people in East Palestine, Ohio, haven't had any justice for this at all, right? So hopefully Biden visiting there will bring some kind of spotlight to this area again, and maybe they will get some kind of funding. And this is the same situation in Maui as well, right? Houses burned down, houses gone, entire community gone, and nobody's gotten any relief. I think they gave people like $700 when it first happened, which is nothing in Hawaii. It's enough to get a hotel night for maybe 2 nights or 3 nights if you're really lucky in Hawaii. And that's if you're lucky, right? That's not going to get you anywhere. And your house is gone, your community's gone, your job's gone, your family's gone, your friends are gone, everything's gone. And these are Americans, and they haven't gotten any help. All right, we have veterans that are struggling. All right, my dad was in the VA system, 100% disability, struggling. He was immensely struggling to even with 100%, he was always struggling to get his benefits and fighting for his benefits instead of just getting them, right? But then we're just giving away all the goodies to all the world, right? And the House Speaker actually came out and said that he is not going to approve or allow this bill come to vote, the one where they're trying to allow 5,000 people a day and codify that into law, right? They're trying to put this into law that it's now quasi-legal to allow people to illegally cross 5,000 people a day, right? So he is saying that that's not going to work. He's not going to bring it to a vote in the House, all right? So that's what he was commenting on, and he was saying this is a national security threat. This is a national security issue, and he was also saying this is, quote, absolute madness on the border, right? And I totally agree with these points, right? Something needs to be done. Our country needs to change for the better. And we're having our own problems as well, our own internal collapses as well. We're having mass layoffs. The economy's not doing good. Maybe the stock market's doing good, all right? Maybe it's at all-time highs with inflation, all right? Because it's this big confidence game. Nobody wants it to go down. Nobody really wants the stock market to go down. So it's not going to go down. It's not really related to the economy. Food is still doubled are tripled in price. All these things are still hitting us extremely hard. All right, gas is still expensive. Gas has gone up the past week for me, probably due to all this chaos that has been going on overseas. Right, but our own economy is not doing well. Mass layoffs are happening right now. Right here, reported today. All right, 12,000 jobs gone from UPS. UPS lays off 12,000 jobs. And just last year, the union of UPS, they got approved for a massive increase in their base salary for UPS workers. I believe they got an increase to over 150,000, 170,000 in that range for their salary and benefits combined. Okay? But then the next year, UPS has to lay off 12,000 jobs, 12,000 people, right? That's a lot of people that are out of work now and thought they had a solid job at UPS, right? 12,000 jobs gone overnight. Our own economy, our own country is not doing well enough to absorb this international crisis that's going on with people coming here. Our own country is not doing well enough. We cannot afford this. All right, massive national debt that goes up every single day, and it's not even accounted for anymore. It's not even thought of. How are we going to bring it down? Because the number is just so big at this point that nobody even thinks we're going to be able to get it down, have a surplus, be down to zero. Nobody even thinks that's possible anymore. It's just accepted that we're going to add more on every single time, right? PayPal also just lost 1,000 jobs, over 1,000 jobs laid off from PayPal, right? NASDAQ laid off over 100, right? And also American Airlines, 655 jobs from American Airlines lost as well, right? So lots of mass layoffs going inside of our country. And this is an indicator of how the real economy is working. And this is also happening in China as well. Internationally, countries are struggling. And inside of China, their largest property developer, Evergrande, they were just ordered to liquidate their assets, right? The largest property developer in China is undergoing major issues, all right? People aren't able to pay their rents, their leases, their business leases. There's a whole collapse inside of China's economy as well. They're having ups and downs and major fluctuations inside of China's stock market, right? So they are having their own economic problems inside of China, and so is the US, all right? So this is a major warning for you to get prepared, for you to get ready, right? We're seeing attacks inside the US on our critical infrastructure, our pipelines. If you are in Texas, if you're in the South, you need to get stocked up. If you're in Oklahoma, you need to be filling up on, get your propane tanks filled up right now before things start drying up, right? And that's how it is sometimes. Sometimes there'll be 5-6 stores that are just out of propane, and you need to go somewhere far. All right, I've been there many times where in the middle of a cold snap especially, everyone's filling up their tanks, all right? So please hit it up for me down there. Please hit that subscribe button if you want to get notified, and hit that bell of all the videos I'm posting, all right? I appreciate that, and it helps to get these videos out and to get these warnings out so more people are prepared, all right? So thank you guys so much. Make sure you are getting your garden ready, all right? Spring's coming. Make sure you are getting your chickens ready. Spring's coming for them too, right? Now's the time to get some orders in, get these things going so you are prepared and you are ready for 2024. All right, so thank you guys, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.